right now is crazy. As you know, there's lots of other adjectives and superlatives that we could probably call the job market, but we are here to focus on how to help you be grounded in your interviews. And it was about, I don't know, 2 months ago when I saw Brittany Dawson speak for only 5 minutes at what is called Disrupt HR here in Denver. And there were at least 600 people in the room. And she brought the house down with her energy, with her fire, with her authenticity of knowledge and speaking. So afterward, I was like, we have to get her on Best You Career Connectors. And so today we're going to have her show you her fire and really, really blessed to have her. All right. If I have not met you, I'm Chelle Johnson. I know it's spelled weird. Some people call me Shirley or Chelsea or Shell or Cheye if you're in Spain. It's Shelley. I know it's weird. But I started Best You Talent Advisors 6 years ago, and I left corporate because not only was I tired of walking on like 12 on the treadmill at a pace of like 10, I just felt like my soul had been crushed. If any of you can relate to that, raise your hand, right? And so I had no business plan. I would come from a family of entrepreneurs, and I was like, fourth quarter 2019, if you can imagine that, right before COVID. I'm like, I'm going to start by just doing career coaching resumes. Um, and I had so much fear. I probably cried on my couch for a week. My husband was like, please don't get like your tiered water spot on the leather couch. It was from a place of fear. And I started watching these webinars. I started listening to what the universe had in store. Now, I'm going to get a little bit spiritual because I am a holistic coach, and that I'm not saying religious. I'm saying we're going to get a little bit into between our head, our heart, and our soul for just a minute. I am a holistic coach. I coach people and have for the past 6 years. I leverage a group or a program called Positive Intelligence, which helps calm your mind. In fact, many of you have been through this or will go through this. I see some women that are starting a group program tomorrow. I can't wait to work with you. Um, we also do a lot of grounding is how do you get more in from that fear to that faith to that belief in yourself. So I thought today that because part of the title is from anxious to anchored, that as the facilitator of this conversation, that we would do some grounding. And I'm pulling from a book that's about personal transformation. So just listen, see what lands for you. If it doesn't, that's okay too, because we're going to get practical and tactical. So your head will be pleased, but I'm trying to go deeper. I'm trying to be different and take a risk and be a little bit audaciously courageous because the world doesn't need more advice. We need more courage. I just saw that on LinkedIn. I saw this picture of it was like a sketch of a young man, but when he looked in the mirror, there was a lion. And that reminded me that I am a Leo. My birthday is this month, and that I need to be audaciously courageous with how I show up. And if some of that rubs off on you today through Brittany, through me, then I will be extremely happy. So I'm going to read something, and I usually don't do this, but with my clients, I do. And so take what you want, leave the rest, but let's get grounded. This is called personal transformation. Your soul is assisting you with creating changes to align with your life's purpose. If you're out there going, what is my purpose? What is my next chapter? How do I tell my story? How do I get out of this funk of who these limiting beliefs? It's going to take a lot more than just thinking your way through it. So Be open to new ideas and the growth of your spirit. Listen to the still, small voice from within. You may have been feeling a strong desire to obtain or experience again a sense of meaning, inspiration, or purpose in your life. This is likely a time in which you are making some significant adjustments in your life. These adjustments are helping you in the process of changing yourself from the old you to the new you, and you will soon benefit from a fresh perspective on life. You are in a great place now for honoring the person you truly are or want to be, rather than simply following a routine that has little meaning to you anymore. This is a profound spiritual journey that you are experiencing, which brings greater meaning and purpose into your life. This will renew your inner energy. Eliminate everything in your life that is not essential to your transformation. Realize that some of your activities may be in place simply to act as buffers or distractions from what is truly important. Allow the changes that are taking place and trust that a period of greater calm and stability will follow. Your calls for guidance have not gone unnoticed, and you will ultimately find what you are yearning for. Probably not what you expected from a webinar, right? And that's okay. So, I also wanted to recommend a few books to you. If some of you are having thoughts of how am I going to financially make it? How am I going to lean into this part of the job search? I want to recommend what's called It's Not Your Money by Tosha Silver. Can you see this okay?
Now we can. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I can't see myself. This book is all about abundance and how you manifest abundance. And there's some affirmations and some things in here. My coach recommended this to me when I was going through huge financial fear. So I just thought, let's be real and how to live life fully from divine abundance. Another book that many of you probably have heard of is The Let Them Theory. How many of you have heard of this book?
I've heard of it, never read it.
Okay. I'm listening to it when I'm out on my hikes. I am highly recommending this let them theory because it talks about adult friendships. It talks about if that company ghosted you, let them. If you are living in resume hell right now, let them. By the way, we have Lisa Carmen online with us today. She is one of our resume writers. She is unbelievable and also brings that sense of head, heart, and soul. So, whatever's going on, you have to let them, but you also have to let me. So I hope I've tapped into a little bit of that spirituality today. This is what I do as an executive career coach, and what is makes me different as a recruiter. I do both. My job is to help leaders have more professional joy, success, and impact. Now, Adrian is new to Best You Career Connectors. If you've been here for a while, you have met, seen, felt Yvette. Yvette is still going to be doing all of our graphic design, but she's
Yes.
been with me for 4 years and she is moving her business into more graphic design. And so she and I have been talking. And so, guess how I found Adrian? She's part of this community. I put out like a posting for I need part-time help. She answered the call, and let me tell you, two snaps up, one snap back. I'm loving what I'm seeing so far. So, Adrienne, say hi to the community. Anything you want to say?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Shelley, for that introduction. I was thinking about this week how we chatted about 6 or 7 months ago after one of your webinars, and you were just so gracious with your time and willing to meet with me. I was really in the midst of starting my job search and feeling really overwhelmed in this crazy market. So, just the power of networking. It may take a while. Now we're 7 months later, and I'm getting the opportunity to work with you. So you just never know. But I really love events. I love marketing and social media. So I'm really excited to make sure that we get more folks to sign up, hear about these opportunities more, spread the word. Lisa and I met actually about 2 or 3 years ago at a New Moon Circle in Denver. So again, you never know who you'll meet in your past and come up again in your future. But yes, I'm also a part-time organization development and change management consultant. I work with my friend from grad school who is also an entrepreneur and has his own firm. So looking to learn and expand my skill set. And yeah, feel free to connect with me, and I look forward to keeping in touch with you all.
You never know where the networking is going to go.
Exactly.
Awesome. Adrian, so happy to have you here.
Thank you.
In this market, you have to be scrappy. And I keep reading about all the new grads that are not being able to land because AI is taking over entry level roles. In fact, in the past 3 months, I have had five of my past director of laboratory or a CFO that I've worked with call me about their kids. And so I'm decided to do something about it. In August, late August, I'm starting the Offer Club, and this is for new grads. It's a group coaching experience for new grads and emerging talent up to 3 years. And it's really about how helping them adult understand what corporate looks like, understand how to network. And so, if you know someone that is a new grad or even in their junior year looking for an internship, because also I'm a Zumba instructor and one of my group, her daughter was looking for an internship. So, she's going to be part of it. One of my current clients who just came on, Michaela. Hi. Michaela's getting her degree in project management and she is about to graduate. So, make sure you're networking, Michaela. Cool. I can't see you, but if any of you know, please use this QR code. Help me get the word out. This is really about helping this group, right? Another way that I'm hoping to be of service is I am doing a pay what you can as you go executive group for men. Now, my women's group starts tomorrow. And we have 7 women who are unbelievable. Several are on the phone right now or on the call. And if you know men who have been in this job search for a while, they're stuck in this cycle of ghosting and rejection and silence. My group starts mid-August. We're going to go over LinkedIn. We're going to go over, there's group coaching sessions available. So let me know if you're interested. And it truly is pay as you go. Now, why am I doing this? Because I'm getting my professional coaching certification and I need to increase my hours up to 500. But I also, from a heartfelt perspective, see a need for groups to come together and the power of co creating that ripple effect to help each other. And so if I can facilitate those moments of aha moments, if I can facilitate those moments, and it is not about the money, it is about how do we serve you while still being a win-win and allowing for me to help those who I can. So if you're interested, please let me know. We usually take the summer off, but we are not now because as I talked about, you cannot take 2 months off in this economy, in this job market. So it is about consistency, showing up. And so our next webinar is going to be on Thursday, the 31st. It's from 8:30 to 9:45. I'm bringing 3 recruiters who are currently working and hiring. The first one works at a SaaS company. Her background is insane. Her name is Gina Allo. The second one is from Martin and Martin Construction. His name is Alex Lane. And third is working for Panda Express in California. And Panda Express is a multi-billion-dollar food company that is growing. AI is not going to take over food. You have to think about where are those industries that are not going to be AI out, right? So food and beverage. I'm giving you hints of where you might want to look. Renewable energy, data centers, etc. So I hope that you will join us. Registration link is now live. Thank you, Adrian. And I'd love to see you at that time. We are going to be continuing with, oops, back here. So Lisa Carmen, who's on the line, is actually going to be doing our presentation on August 19th from 1 to 2:15. She's going to be showing how to leverage AI and resume and LinkedIn optimization and job search tools. I have been sending lots of prompts, and so this is going to be all about how to leverage AI, but not take the human out of the job search. And then we have another week behind the recruitment curtain on September 9th, and we have someone out of Austin, Texas, who is the head of talent, who will be joining us along with other recruiters. So super excited about the content that we have coming up. It's all free. All you have to do is register, sign up, and be part of the community. Now, that's a lot of info. How many of you are actually ready for our speaker today? um, Brittany, I'm going to turn it over to you in just a moment. Again, if you are just joining us, I met Brittany briefly after she had presented at Disrupt HR. And I know a couple of you were at Disrupt HR, and we were clapping and laughing and getting just fired up by Brittany. Brittany's the founder of Brittany Dawson Coaching, who's on a mission to unlock the best in teams through actionable workshops, training, keynotes. You guys can read this, but she has presented at Disrupt HR, the CWCC, Colorado Women's Chamber, Constellation Brands, Amazon. And so, Brittany, without further ado, thank you for joining us today. And I am so ready to just learn and love on you. Thanks, everyone. Brittany, over to you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And hello, y'all. Good morning, afternoon, depending on where y'all are. I am so excited to talk about what I would argue is one of the most common experiences we face in the job search. And that is, how do you navigate the interview process from a place of being anchored instead of anxious? So before we dive into that, I actually have a question for y'all. By a show of hands, who has ever gotten nervous before, during, or after an interview? Everybody should have their hands up to some degree, okay? And the reason why I ask this is, and Zoom apparently is literally raising my hand right now, but the reason why I ask this is statistically, over 93% of candidates experience nervousness at some point in an interview. And one particular example, I remember I was really looking for this job straight out of college. I was doing everything I needed to do. I even went to Target and got a fresh fit. And I went into the office excited to present my case for why I was the best candidate. And when I got into the room, my confidence went from about a 10, probably down to a -2. And here's why. I started to doubt my own abilities before I even walked into the door. I started to show up as someone that I felt like they needed to see instead of the bold, courageous, audacious person that I already am. And then when it came down to salary, when they asked me, how much do you want to pay? I lowballed myself to show that I am flexible for them to choose me. Well, as y'all can imagine, your girl did not get the job, and it was for a good reason. But that moment has stuck with me since 10 plus years because it showed me how important it is to show up anchored in who we are, our values, our talents, and our worth, and not putting that pressure on the employer to inject that into ourselves. So the reason why we're exploring this topic today is my hope is that everyone leaves here today with some practical and soul-filled strategies on how to not be a Brittany in that situation, but show up confident in your authenticity, to show up knowing that you can solve a problem, to come prepared to talk about who you are, what you do, and why you should be the one to do it, why you should show up with the winner's mindset, why you should own your story before you enter the room. And lastly, why you should return the energy, interview them the same way that they are interviewing you. So that is our purpose today. And that is what you all can experience very shortly. So with that, I want to push it on and get y'all's thoughts. Before we talk about the anchor strategy, I want to know you, from your most recent interview experience, how did it go? What did you do to prepare? What worked? What didn't? And what's been your greatest challenge in interviewing? So let's take the next 30 seconds to just reflect on these questions. And I will share it here in the chat because some of us are like, girl, that was 6 questions, and it was. So I'm sharing the questions in the chat. And as the spirit moves you, would love to invite a couple of folks to be vulnerable and tell us what that journey was for you. So I'm inviting us to turn our cameras off. Let's go inward, and then we'll come back and we'll have a discussion of this question. All right, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back. 30 seconds flew by. I feel like I just clicked the camera off button, but I would love to invite, let's hear from 2 folks. If you could tell us what came up for you in that reflection and what's been your greatest challenge relating to interviewing. Thank you, Gail. Kick us off, my friend. Nice to meet you.
Yes, I'm trying to be braver. So yeah, so I've been in this for a while, for almost 2 years. And I think I have a good prep strategy for interviews. It's the website, going through the job description and thinking of examples. I've been working on my key stories that could serve as an answer for more than one question. So I don't have, 20 answers swirling in my head, but kind of key messages. I think about 4 questions that might concern the company, their challenges, their opportunities, their hiring profile, trying to get in their mindset. And then I think of good questions to ask them at the end. I think the challenges for me are I am a laid back, I'm from Seattle, like we're not very pushy. So I don't think I oversell myself. If it's video, I can get really distracted, like what's happening. Um, and I'm getting better, but I tend to over focus on the gaps in my skills. So if there's 25 skills in that job description and 2 are weak for me, I will like, how do I tell a story about that instead of focusing on, the 85% that are strong for me. So that's kind of my process. And the interviews are intermittent. So it's sometimes trying to remember what your process is at the end of the day.
Yeah, let's show some love to Gail in the chat. You could give some reaction emojis. Way to be bold, way to be brave. And I'm sure all of us can relate to exactly what you said, right? So let's first start with the positive. Like, you have a process. So you're like 1,000 steps ahead in that regard. And it also sounds like your opportunity is focusing on your strengths from an asset-based perspective versus
Mhm.
focusing on the deficit. And scientifically, and from the neuroscience space, when we see that like I don't have that particular skill, or they're looking for someone with 5 years of experience, but I only have two, your brain is trying to literally build new connections to something that it perceives as a threat. So a part of
Mhm.
this anchor strategy, we're going to get to the brass tacks, but some of it is just preparing your mindset ahead of time and reminding yourself that I am qualified. I do have something to contribute. And how I might go about that might be in the scripting of the stories, for example, or giving yourself a pep talk before you enter. So we're going to get into all of these, but I just want to affirm that that is such a real thing, so normal. I'm excited to share some strategies on how you might go through that, Gail, and for
Thank
everyone.
you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So let's hear from one more brave. All right. Shout out to and you're in Phoenix, right? Oh, I'm perfect. I'm having trouble hearing you unless it's
Sorry, there we go. Is that better?
perfect. I was gonna say my laptop is old, it is
No, no,
refurbished. So
no, no, no,
like
no. I need to
this
put the
is
headphone properly on. So, um, look, I mean, I have had my last couple of interviews have been 30 minutes, and I'm not a spring chicken. I have lots of different experiences that can be in relation to what my questions and what my interviewer is asking for. And in my last session last week, now granted, I took it out of my comfort zone in terms of I was the day before I was at a funeral and I didn't do my normal. I mean, I prepared, but it wasn't my normal preparation. And as soon as the organization was mentioned, I think I could have done a little bit better in my preparation. But in terms of the role and the way the executive recruiter wanted to highlight the fact that this was a kind of a senior role engaging with people, I really focused in that element of people relationships. And I didn't hit my key spots around like basically I can roll up the sleeves and I can quickly implement what needs to be done, or I can quickly get on the path of what needs to be done. And I didn't showcase that in some realistic examples. And I mean, obviously, like Gail, I have been searching for an extended period. So when you get up to bat and you don't form, at least to get into the next conversation, 1 hour face to face in an office setting, I mean, obviously in this situation, I failed. And, it's more about, for me, it was the strategy that, I should have known that, the organization was a fast moving boutique coffee outlet, and they're not going to be filled with the structure that have had with my other organizations. And I should have showcased the fact that, I've been in environments where like it is chaos and it's like drinking water from a fire hydrant, but I didn't articulate that enough. And when you only got 20 minutes after you do the little intros, I have to work out a strategy if that happens to very quickly just be like what you just said. I need to take the same energy back to them and say, what do you specifically need to say? What do you need to specifically hear from me to go to the next step? Because I have different pillars that I can give you that are going to help you make a great organization or a great team. But where do I have to get in the next 20 minutes with you? And I need to work on that some more. So
that. Let's give some shine as well. Yeah, there's so many gems there, but I want to just first acknowledge something, and especially in today's job market, it can be so hard to determine, is this a me thing? Is it a them thing? Do I have the skills? Do I not? Right. So I would invite us, even if you don't advance to the next round, to do exactly what, and remind me of your name again.
Christopher.
Christopher. Okay, I saw C, so I'm like, want to make sure C is cool way for Christopher, but Christopher, Christopher is already reflecting on like, okay, like what are 1 to 2 things I want to shift for the next interview, And that could be inclusive of that same company or somewhere else. So I just want to invite us to consider part of that anchoring is reminding yourself that even if they decide to go another direction, or even if they've ghosted you and you've been like, bro, it's been weeks and I haven't heard back, to still reflect anyway and decide how can I get 1% better from where I left off. And so the reason why I asked us to think about what's worked in the past and where we're going is when I introduced the anchor framework, I want you to start to think about what part of your strategy have you found to be successful, and what are 1 to 2 areas that you would like to develop. And in those develop areas, I challenge you to work on those areas, not just in interviews, but in your everyday life. So for example, it's hard to talk about yourself when you go to a networking event, practice a perfect elevator pitch, for example. Or if you are at a pickleball event, thank you for that reference earlier. And someone's like, like, what do you do? Like, what brought you here? How can you talk about that in a way that's authentic? So just start to think about where you might go with these things. And so with that, let's explore the anchor strategy to keep you grounded in your experience. Before I share that, I want to know from you all, how do you all currently attempt to be anchored before an interview? Hey, Bridget.
Hey. I've practiced a lot of mindfulness and meditation, and so my big thing to get grounded is to breathe, to visualize a big tree trunk going down into the earth and Mother Earth holding me up. Sometimes I listen to meditations. And then right before, I found it useful to like talk to a friend, look at fun pictures that are totally irrelevant so that I'm more in a happier space versus the more serious one, just to kind of get myself to when it starts.
I love that. So meditation, you're connecting inward before you have to give energy outward. Who can
Yeah.
add on to that? Either what you found to work or build off of what Bridget shared.
I really like oh,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I really like meditation as well. Great example. And I also go for a walk. So clear my head. That's the best way. Connect with nature. Just take a few breaths as well.
I would
The walking. Oh, sorry, Lisa. Sorry. I was just going to say the walking does it for me as well. And music for me is also a form of meditation. So depending on how I'm feeling, that also kind of helps my spirit get in the right space. So that kind of helps me a bit.
Now, can I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, great. So I'm hearing meditation, walking, music, right? Some folks you might need a high energy tone. Others you might let me just listen to some chill.
So,
What you think, Lisa?
whether I am delivering a presentation to a large group or going into an interview, I go wherever I need to go to have alone time, like the ladies' room in a stall or wherever I need to be, and I just ground. And I just imagine this beautiful light coming down through my body, grounding into the earth, connecting with the heavens, and know that I'm in my power place. Always helps.
Powerful term you used, power place, right? When we talk about the strategies, the strategies, that's the tactical thing. But my challenge to us is to consider the energy management that has to happen before you enter the room so that you can successfully share your story, show up in your worth, etc. So that's the purpose of us reflecting about this before we get into the strategies. Kick us off, Nadia.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm such a people person. So for me, instead of thinking of it as like an interview, I always put it down as a coffee with the name of the person. So I'm excited about it. I feel like more kind of more energetic and more thinking less stressed about like it's an interview more than it's just like a conversation. So that's kind of the thing that kind of keeps me calm and kind of energetic, I guess, because I'm a very people person. So that's something that works for me.
I love that because depending on if you even are an introvert, an extrovert, a mixture of both, you might need to redistribute your energy before your interview. So I found that my introvert friends, you're kind of being pulled out. You might need to do the meditation. You might need to go on the solo walk. You might need to put your phone on do not disturb. Literally, do not disturb me. Okay. I've got an interview to go to, right? Versus our extroversion friends, the energy is high, but you're going to have to funnel it in a way that's focused for the interview. So I've worked with folks who are like, I call my best friend and I get it all out then so I can be focused on the call. Or, I'm listening to something that's inspiring, right? The goal here is to shift your energy so that you can show up anchored in the interview. Any other thoughts about this, y'all, for folks who haven't shared or would like to share? What else do you do to stay grounded before you get into your interview?
For me, I play like a really fun song and I'm dancing around my house. Or during that walk, I'm listening to the let them theory, like let them love me, let them and let me be who I am and show up with that energy and yeah, just get grounded.
Shout out to Mel Robbins, y'all. She is really, if anyone else is a fan, definitely check her out. I love, even just from a mindset perspective, you're getting yourself prepared from that moment. I see another person off mute.
Hi, I'm Maricel. I find that if I can, having a workout prior to an interview really helps me. Even if it's a quick routine of having a quick exercise, even if it's 15 minutes, and then going to the sauna, the hot tub, the cold plunge pool is just really perfect. And even if I actually do the interview in my car because I don't make it at home, I actually present myself well because I had that workout. And so if I am at home, having a walk around the neighborhood helps. What I find that really does not work well is when it's I'm coming right out of a meeting from work and then getting into my car, and that's happened to me. And it was actually an intense meeting. It's like I was not able to get rid of that negative vibes and juju from my body because I had to leave the meeting and go into this, interview.
Has anyone had to do that before? I definitely have. You're like, it's like back to back. So you're like, hold up, wasn't expecting this little vibe to come with me. So, again, the purpose of us reflecting on this is having a practice prior to your action will help you be anchored in your body so that you can show up in the way that you aspire to be. So thank you all for your courage. Thank you all for your vulnerability. And let's get into what you all are here for, which is, well, this is great, but like, how do I actually do this, right? Like, I've got interviews I'm preparing for. I'm thinking about how to improve my practice. So I got you. So here is the 3+ step process for how to stay anchored for your interviews. So the anchor strategy stands for authenticity, need, create a script, have a winner's mindset, own your story, and return the energy. I will also have this slide deck available for you to review, so no pressure to feel like you got to remember it all. So what does each mean? Well, authenticity is exactly what we've talked about. How do you Do what you know works for your body to show up as your best self, right? Don't hide the parts of yourself that you think aren't good enough for the job or the position. The N stands for need. That is a decision to move into the interview room knowing that you can fulfill a need. You are the solution to their problem. So, how do you go about articulating that in your story? C stands for create a script. Some of the nervousness, in fact, 93% of professionals cite nervousness, comes from feeling like I don't quite know what to say. So come prepared with at least 4 to 5 stories that you can quickly talk to and adapt based off of the role you're applying for. All right. The H, have a winner's mindset. That's pretty self-explanatory, but I want to go deeper on this. Having a winner's mindset means that regardless of the outcome, whether they respond, whether they say thanks, but we decided to go another direction, that your worth is not left in the last job interview. Now, you might have to cry. You might have to want to sell your laptop. You might got to talk to your friend about it. But outside of you expunging that energy, reminding yourself that you still have value, even though they decided to go another direction. All right. The O stands for own your story. That's the good, the bad, and everything in between. Humility goes a long way when you are showing the value you can bring. And we'll talk about that in a moment. And then my personal favorite, which is R, that stands for return the energy. The same, let's be honest, it kind of seems cliche. They're like, you're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you. But it's like, really, like, take a look at everything. How fast did they get back to you in the interview process? Did you feel like when you asked questions about PTO, you got an honest answer? Can you really see yourself collaborating with the folks you've met so far? Use everything as data to determine, is this the best place for me? And can I thrive in this environment? All right. Comments, questions, reactions to what we're hearing so far. And I'm taking a look at the chat too. Oh, I'm loving the support too, giving some advice on how to stay grounded. Yes, Lisa.
Man, I think creating a script has saved my bacon more times than not in interviews. And it's not that I recite the script. You want to write the way you intend to respond in an interview, and then practice it until it's like second nature. So you don't even have to think about it. It'll just come out because you're so well read on exactly what you want to say and you've practiced enough. That's always worked for me.
I love that. I love that because think about it. When we think script, we think, am I auditioning for a play? Like, hold up now. That's not what that is. It's more about having, just like Lisa said, getting comfortable, building that muscle memory, talking about yourself, explaining your value to the point to where it does become second nature. So just continue that on. All right. What else comes to mind as you see these strategies? Love the advice in the chat. All right. We'll stop this train. No John Mayer if other thoughts come in. So we're now going to dive specifically into strategies for each anchor. So let's start with the first one, authenticity. Okay. I want to give you 3 quick things you could do to show up more authentically. If you look good, you feel good. So show up in an outfit that makes you feel your best. Okay. It literally will change your posture, right? When you talk about yourself, consider, how do you build connections with just who you are in your story? I'm not making this up. I worked with a client who was passionate about cheese. I'm not making this up. Like cheese whiz, pun intended. Gruyere, Swiss, cheddar, all of that. And she also was a software engineer. So, you know what she did in her interview? She talked about her passion for cheese, which I'm very like, okay, girl, love that for you. But with her cheese passion, she actually created a mock app to be compatible with stores like Whole Foods and others for customers to buy custom cheese online. Now, the cheese app, it was more of a project, but she was very authentic in that interview, and it showed her being herself, but also showing how that authenticity could potentially solve a need. So don't be afraid to think outside of the box, or in this case, bring your cheese to the interview. Okay. Let's zoom on in into need. So need, we know they're hiring you for a reason. They want you to solve a problem. And in fact, we know statistically interviewing, it's anywhere upwards to $4,000+ per hire, depending on the position. So when you position yourself as a problem solver, that can help you be specific in your script. So for example, if a company asks you, well, can you tell us a little bit about how you've worked collaboratively with the team, right? You're not just going to say, yes, I've worked with the team. I've worked with the global team. I've worked with this team, right? That's more of what you've done. But how did you use that team to make an impact? So flipping that around with your solution, you might say, yes, I've had in my 10 years of experience, I've worked with global and offshore teams. And the challenge we had as a global team was that we had conflicting time zones. And so as the manager of management, the solution I proposed was integrating AI to coordinate our calendars at a time that works best for us so that we could get the deep work done. And what I found is with the integration of AI, our productivity boosted upwards of 50%, right? You answered the question, you showed the solution, and it's going to get them excited for what you can bring. I want to pause here. What's coming up for you as you hear these strategies?
It's empowering. You have more agency than you may realize to prepare and practice.
Ooh, that's a powerful word, agency, right? Let's get a little deep in that. The interview process feels like the least agent part, right? You go in, you interview, and it's like you're waiting like a date. Like, you gonna call me back? I got my good outfit, put my good perfume on, I'm feeling good. You gonna call me back? So the agency comes from knowing that regardless of the outcome, you are still valuable. And part of that is using the interview process to get even more confident talking about the value that you can bring. If you view it like that, I'm not going to say the feelings won't go away, but it's saying, you know what? If you don't call me back, I'm anticipating a call from someone else. And when you see me out in the street and I just so happen to run into you at Trader Joe's, well, you passed, pop the balloon, you pop the balloon on me. So there's that. But like you can still show up in that posture. Yeah. But other thoughts on that, y'all?
It just reminds me about the preparation. My most recent interview was Tuesday when I was testifying for my court case for my kids. And I prepared and prepared, and I thought of every scenario and I thought of every example so that I would know what to say under pressure on the stand. And I had everything in my head except for one. So I think that's pretty damn good. And it just reminds me, I have written answers to lots of interview questions in the past. I've been laid off for 2 years. I need to go find them. I need to go read them. I need to put them back in my head because I've done it before. It's just been a long time. So that preparation is really important.
I know that's right, Britt. Let's get some. Y'all are really, I just want to acknowledge this is not an easy conversation to have. And so the vulnerability, the courage, I love that. And you're right. You know, it could feel like I'm starting from scratch or I have to create these things. I challenge you to view it from the perspective of it's not about you having to recreate the wheel. It's about literally looking inward. Where have I done this before? And if I haven't done this explicitly, what's something similar to what I've done that I can talk about? Start where you are first versus focusing on what you don't have. Okay. So again, we're talking about the anchor strategy. A, authenticity. N, you're solving a need, showing yourself as a problem solver. C, creating a script. I want to give you a tool to help you never get lost when you are live in an interview. And here it is. Repeat after me in your head. Prep. In your head, prep. P-R-E-P. Not I-N-D-E-P-N-D for my hip hop heads. Prep. P-R-E-P. That stands for point, reason, example, point. So it doesn't matter what question they ask you. Tell me about yourself. Well, in 2006, you said this. Why this? This is a structure to answer your question. So let's use the cheese, our cheese quiz as an example. Okay, so a cheese app, huh? You know what? Why? Tell us what inspired you to create a cheese app. Well, first of all, thank you so much. You know, I am actually a huge fan of cheese. And the point I made in the app is I wanted to show how could we use insert algorithm to create different modalities for users. And the reason why I chose an app is because statistically, apps are more accessible for our users. So, for example, instead of using a website for orders to be placed, an app could be accessed across the globe. So the point I want to reiterate is that is why I think there's value in creating it so that it's better for users to order their cheese. Y'all, I'm winging this, but like that's one example of how you use prep to integrate the script that you have. So just want to demonstrate that live here. All right, everyone. So finally, let's get into the last letters of anchor. A is authenticity, N is need, C is create a script, H is have a winner's mindset. So all that we've talking about, move into the room knowing you are the prize. It sounds woo-woo, but it really is. Let me give you a tip. Scientifically, when you talk to yourself, instead of, I know saying things like I am works, but there's also power in saying you. So if I was Adrian, for example, that might sound like, Adrian, you know that you could do this, girl. Like, you've done this, you have this experience, you really have what it takes to change this job. Actually say that out loud, use you, because your brain literally feels like someone else is talking to you and it's really yourself. So that can help you build that winner's mindset, all right? The O stands for own your story. This is important. I find that when I work with folks who've had a career gap, they feel like they don't have enough experience. Maybe you were impacted by layoffs. It's hard to know, where do I start? So I encourage you to own the fullness of your story and talk about how did you use that time? So for example, yes, I was impacted by a reduction of force. While it was not related to my performance, I want to tell you how I used my time between employment. I joined this board. I took on this new project. I learned more about myself by traveling the world. Like, that is valuable, and build that bridge with how that will help you be successful in the job. All right. One final tip in the anchor strategy is returning the energy. This is my favorite. Why? Because statistically, we're not taught to challenge the system that we are forced, but also need to participate in. So what does that mean? Be strategic. Look at everything in the process and ask yourself, is this really authentic to me? Right? Be direct about your salary requirements. Let's get into that. Hey, I noticed that what's your salary? Be coy. That's a really great question. I was really excited about the role. And I considered that. We know you have, but don't let them know that. You really consider that. Can you tell me what's the role budgeted for? Oh, well, we're not going to really know that. But what do you think? Well, what do you think? If they push you back the second time, come ready with an average amount of your most recently applied for positions. I would say choose 3 and take the average amount of that number. So, for example, if you find a job, one is 90K, another is 76, and the highest is 102, take the average of 3 and say, well, given my market research, I'm looking to start within this range and this range, and just see how that works. So with that, comments, questions, reactions, and Glassdoor, yes. Yes, Lisa, all great and real.
We have a question from Chris about how the STAR method and the prep method coexist when you're addressing an interview question. And so I'd love your insight on that. I have some too.
Yeah.
And I have a quick question. It ties into what Chris just asked.
Of course.
I've been more recently using the SAR, the SAR, to try to truncate and get to it quicker. Could you confirm if that is a better way? I love what Chris is asking in the comparison, but I had that in my head. That's how I've been using it for my last couple. It's worked well, but I just want to know, is that the better route to go? Don't know. Thank you.
Yes, of course, Charmaine. And I'm loving that yellow way to show up bold and bright, and love the question to period. Love the question to Christopher. So here's my take on it. This is an example that there are so many, right? Different frameworks that exist out there. And I would encourage you, I'm not going to say, STAR is better, SAR is better, PrEP is better. But I would say if you find yourself struggling with specificity, for example, a situation might be, STAR, for example, might be a better option in that way. SAR, for example, it's less words, but it allows for more fluidity in your answer. So maybe you're like, I actually have examples, but I don't know how to talk about it from a problem-solving lens. Then SAR could be a great approach. Prep is more about whether it's like a challenge or you're talking to a higher up. How do you just organize your thoughts in general to get to the direct point of that particular question? And I found prep to be helpful in, tell me about yourself, or, well, why are you looking for this job? Well, the point I want to make about that is blank, right? It helps you not go too far out versus, if they ask you, hey, why are you looking for this job? You're probably not going to say, well, here's the situation. I need a job, which we know is true, but, just kind of experiment with what framework works best for you. But I would say if STAR is working for you, girl, keep that up. And if STAR is working for you, keep that up. And just experiment with which one works best. I want to get some other voices in the room to see what works.
Brittany, I think, I like your response back because, I think you have to do a STAR because a STAR is your story. But if you got to give it in 10 seconds, or if you've got to prepare yourself for a 20-minute conversation about who you are, and if you've got, 20 years of work experience, you got to be able to inventory, which is you got to be able to point, reason, share an example, summarize the point, and get out very quickly to showcase your expertise. And on reflection, Brittany, your little prep thing would have gotten me through a hurdle because I had an aha moment when I was in my interview last week going, that took too long to respond. It went off in my own head where I didn't respond as articulate and pointed and crisp and sharp as I should have been. And I don't know what our other colleagues would feel, but it's once again, it comes down to, STAR gives you your framework, and then your prep gives you what is that, 10-minute or 10-second power punch.
I love that. Yeah, that 10-second power punch. And this is the beautiful part about this, because when we think of being anchored, it's knowing how do you typically respond when you're given some of those curveball questions. We're like, whoa, I was not what wasn't preparing for that. So prep might also be the backup in the event you have to be more extemporaneous, or you create something on the fly that you might not have a ready script for in that way. So I want to get some other thoughts. What else do y'all think?
I
Yeah.
just want to say, as a recruiter, that we do not want to hear you be robotic. We want to hear you be human. And so, what is your story? Like, there's STAR, which comes from DDI, STAR, CAR, challenge, action, result. There's different iterations of this, but what's really important is that you know your stories, that there is what was the situation? What's all the action verbs you took? And then what was the outcome? Get in, get out. And then you can even spin the interview by asking a question around, did I answer that? And what's a problem that you currently have? And when they start talking, you better be actively listening, because your job is to solve every problem they bring up in order to make you the interviewee of choice for round one, round two. Lisa.
Hey, I wanted to just say something about what you should have on your resume. Each bullet on your resume should be an achievement bullet. It should be something you want to talk about in interviews. So that's one of the ways I get people to get it down to 2 pages, even after a 30-year career. You want every bullet point on your resume to be what you intend to talk about in the interviews. So your resume can even guide you in your responses. So what you've got is a very brief summarized STAR or SAR or prep in each bullet on the resume. And then you bring more in about who you are as a leader and who you are as a person and a team person, and how you problem solve. And that's more building out your interview responses. But I just wanted to mention that.
I love this group so much, because it's tactical, but it's also in the heart place. And again, you get to be able to watch the recording. You probably get a lot of strategies here, but another strategy, because Christopher shared a really great question on, like, how would I know whether or not they're either going to move forward with me, or concerns that you have. So this is where you exercise that agency. You can ask them directly, do you have any concerns about my candidacy? Based on what you've heard, what's still unclear for you? Or my personal favorite, instead of, does that make sense? Make it more specific. What about this might I need to expand on more if necessary? And if you're getting the, nope, that was clear, or yep, that makes sense, count that as a win. And that can give you that in the moment confidence to know that you're answering it to the degree that makes the most sense.
Brittany, I just want to add in here, instead of asking what concerns you, or what questions you have, you don't want to leave a negative thought in their mind as you're exiting the conversation. So I want to spin that and say, after our conversation, what most excites you about my candidacy for this role? It shows courage. It shows you're leaving a positive impression for them. So just wanted to throw that out there. What excites you about my candidacy for this position? And what do you see as being the next steps?
Period. Period. Right. Yeah.
Make them talk.
Yeah, exactly. And but part of that too, in what you've just shared, is creating that forward momentum, right? Like you might not have control over the entire process, but you do have influence here. So how can you influence that 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour to create that forward momentum? So lovely humans, we are a little under 4 minutes before it's time to go, and time just flew by here. But I want to close with any questions or next steps before I pass it on to the Best You Talent Advisors team?
You know,
Well,
Brittany, I really think the prep model that you've introduced is a game changer. And I mean, you can write a star or a SAR or a car, I mean, anything like that, but I really appreciate the part of getting to the point and keeping that in the back of your mind while you're speaking and while you're responding. I mean, even ending some of your responses with, so the point is, I love that.
and isn't it, don't you just feel powerful when you say, here's my point? Like you could be talking about like, here's the point about Love Island. Here's why I think this, it's a part of it is structure, but also it's power language that says, oh, like, oh, well, they're about to get to the point. So let me hear it. And that's also signaling to your brain, let's search for the point that we want to share. So excited to see how this lands for you all.
Other comments or thoughts? How many of you got some insights and some nuggets that you're going to implement now? I'm seeing some hands raised. How many of you moved from head to heart to soul and got some grounding and some ideas? That is why our community exists. We are a free community. We do webinars almost twice a month. Let's give a round for Brittany. I mean, Brittany, thank you so much. Your knowledge, I had not heard of prep, and I love it. Like getting to the point, and my point is that also shows as interviewers, you are aware and self-aware of, you know what, I got a little on a rabbit trail, but let me bring up myself back and finalize that piece. Brittany does speak everywhere. You can get in touch with her. We will have her recording. We will have her contact information. And what a gift to have Brittany with us today. I hope we have gone from anxious to anchored. Yes, Lisa.
Does Brittany coach people? Is that what you do? Is coach people in interviewing?
I am so humble. I'm like, I just forget. I'm like, let me just speak and not talk about myself.
Please.
So I'm like, thank you. Thank you for that. So I do primarily public speaking workshops, but I'm also a certified life leadership and executive coach. And so I do work very closely with professionals who are either in a season of transition. Maybe you've navigated layoffs, maybe you're looking to make a pivot and just provide one-on-one coaching. So I would be honored to provide some pro bono, aka you don't got to worry about getting a flyer with me with my hands like this saying for $9.99 and $999 sign up for this e-course. I would be more than happy to lend my time if you want to practice this. So let me know.
I just shared your LinkedIn in the chat, but what's another great way to get in touch with you?
Yes, so two ways. You could follow me on Instagram, Brittany Dawson Coaching on Instagram. My email, guess what? Brittany Dawson Coaching at gmail.com. And then I am going to be sharing my personal cell phone number should you want to chat about what you're thinking about for your own preparation for interview. And those are the best ways to get in contact. So appreciative of each of you, and you all are amazing. Can't wait to see where you all land and just keep being amazing. That's my invitation.
Well, you keep being amazing too. Thank you, Brittany. What a pleasure to have you. I really appreciate that, especially giving your personal cell phone for some deeper work. That is a gift. And in this world of craziness, every gift that we can have is that. If you have found Best You Career Connectors to be useful, please help us get the word out. We have helped over 6,000 people in 4 years. We've got some awesome content coming up for you. And it really is all about inclusive community. So thank you. We will see you on the 31st for our Behind the Recruitment curtain, whatever C word comes out of my mouth this time. we're going to get into some AI. Is summer really slower? Are scams out there, and how do you look for scams in job search? So thank you everyone for joining us. Brittany, if you could stay on for a minute, I would love that. I'll see you all later. I'll see some of you tomorrow at noon. And thank you so much for being part of our community. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, thank you.
Adrienne, you don't have to stay on. It's okay. I just want to talk to Brittany for a minute.
All right.
And then I'll see you at 4.
Perfect.
Okay,
Thanks,
cool.
Brittany. So
Cool.
nice
Nice
to meet
meeting you,
you.
Adrienne.
Amazing. So I'm going to stop the recording.